So, the reason that not forgiving will cause an entire lifetime of regret is because the resentment that you hold on to is also the pain that you hold on to. And holding on to that kind of stuff is really heavy. It takes a lot of work to hold on to that, and there's not a lot of payoff that comes with carrying that kind of stuff. It's not like carrying a big weight in the same way that carrying a big weight gives you muscle. It actually does the opposite for the muscularity of your spiritual body and your emotional body. So, in this video, I want to talk to you about sort of the bigger scope of what it would look like for you to not forgive and how you can forgive. And we're also going to find a different place to sit because the sun is starting to get into my eyeballs. All right, what's up, dude or dudette? The sun is actually still in my eyes here, but it's okay. It's a lot better. I am in Hawaii, by the way, so yeah, there's a lot of bugs around me, and this is an amazing banana farm that I'm on. And so forgiveness, right? You might be wondering why is the pain interlinked with the resentment? Well, that's because of the whole frame from which you're viewing the trauma or the experience where somebody betrayed you or wronged you or something. Because of the way that you're looking at it from this unforgiving place, it implies a host of bad elements to create a terrible paradigm. So, for example, it's looking at it from victimhood. It's looking at it from the belief of this could happen to me again, so I need to protect myself. Or the paradigm of this was a horrible thing, and how dare they do this to me? I didn't deserve this, kind of a thing. Just a lot of disempowering ideas, even if, you could say that they are relatively true. It's still an unresourceful paradigm to carry around in your head. So every time you remember the memory from a place of resentment, you will inevitably continue to carry around the pain with it as well, because forgiveness releases that person of the debt that you feel they owe you, that they can never repay back. And in releasing that debt, it also releases the pain. So real quick, I just want to share how it could look throughout your life if you just held on to the resentment, if you just chose, no, I'm not going to forgive this person. They don't deserve my forgiveness. Let's say it's your mom, right? And you have this resentment against her for the way that she treated you growing up or whatever. And it could be small or it could be big. And if it's more real for you to put your dad in the place of this example, just go ahead and do that. So your parent didn't treat you the way that you thought you should be, that a child should be treated. And if you carry this resentment around, this is going to bleed into all of your relationships. This will cause you to act defensively in some ways that are very micro small and in other ways that are very large, where you prevent entire experiences from unfolding because you are afraid of being hurt in that same way because the pain is still fresh. And the reason the pain is still fresh is because the resentment is still being held on to. So I don't know if it's really worth getting into all of, the different ways that this could happen. I think if you use your imagination, you'll see how defensiveness, overcautiousness, skepticism, jealousy, cynicism, just that skeptical sort of thing where you're always wondering into a person's motive. You're always kind of trying to pierce into their underlying motivations and what it is that they're up to. Very exhausting thing to do. So you are able to rise above all of those behaviors. And those behaviors, by the way, would be automatic. They would be subconscious because they are arising from the substratum of your paradigm, from the ground of your beliefs, from which spring your ideas, your behaviors, your actions, all the things that you do on a subconscious level. And so consciously, if you can see that, first of all, and this is how we're going to forgive, this is actually how you forgive. You want to look at yourself, first of all. You want to look at all the ways that you yourself are sometimes impatient or sometimes angry or volatile or untrustworthy or whatever it may be, and notice how you can't help but be that way. In other words, you don't choose in a moment of anger and frustration and impatience to be angry or impatient or frustrated. It just happens, and it happens in a split second, and it takes over. So if you can just see how you would like to work on that, but in moments where that happens, you can't help it. It's just through the light of the awareness within your heart that goes, hold on, maybe instead of reacting this way, I could choose a different way to react. That's the same case for your parents or whoever it is that you may be resenting for something that they did to you, right? Or even to another person, and you just find it unforgivable. So now where I start to lose people with this is they start to go, well, Christian, they have free will. They're not unaccountable. And I would say, you're right. I'm not taking away their accountability. In fact, that's not something I can take away. We're all accountable for the things that we do in life. It's just a question of it's just the judgment of this person could have done this better in that moment is a judgment that's not based in reality. It's based in your opinion of how they should have acted in the moment. And if you look at your own self in the times where you've made mistakes, yes, we could say all day that you should have done better in that moment. But the way you acted in that moment was the way it was always going to go down because of what you have available in your consciousness about how you know to be and how you know to do better or to be better in that moment. So one of my philosophies personally that has given me perfect peace when it comes to dealing with other people is that in the moment, I have no other assumption than the assumption that this is the best that this person can do in this moment. And they can do better in the next moment if they grow in awareness and if they apply themselves. But hear how this person is acting in this moment, whatever my judgments of it may be, this is the best they can do, and they can't help themselves. Now, that's just an underlying assumption that I've adopted because it allows me to have perfect peace in the moment about how a person's acting. And so I can deal with them directly and not in the fantasy of my imagination about how I think things should happen. I'm dealing with them directly as it is happening. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in conflict with the way that the person is acting because of how I think they should act. I'm just dealing with the reality of the moment. And the only assumption I have is this is the best they can do. So like if a thief in the night comes into my room and tries to take all my stuff and kill me, I'm still going to have that basic assumption. All right, this is the best that this person can do. Desperation has brought them to this moment, and now I got to take care of them. And I will take care of them, directly in the cleanest, most effective way possible because I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to be in my head about how could they do this? Why would they do this? I'm just going to accept this thief and what he's up to, and I'm just going to take out the trash with no opinions about the trash. I'm just going to see that it's trash. So the first step in forgiving, if you really want to be free and you don't want to carry around this resentment, which gives you an ego boost of like, yeah, they did this to me, but it also comes with that baggage of the pain. And if you just don't want to carry the pain around, but you don't know how to get your ego to let go of it, then that's what this video is here for. It's to help you forgive. So here the first step is to look at your own self and see how you're doing your best, whether you would like to accept that or not. And our ego doesn't want to accept that. Our ego wants to leave room for, well, no, I could be doing better. But if we observe it from the heart, it's like, no, this is the way I'm being in my life because this is the best that I can do. It's very humbling actually to accept that. But that's the place from which now you can start to do better, genuinely. By the way, I'm so passionate about this topic because I grew up with so much anger inside. And I didn't know how to get rid of it. And I always wanted to get rid of it because I love people so much. That's why I do what I do. But at times people would just piss me off and I just didn't know why I couldn't control that initial pissed offedness, I couldn't control that initial burst of rage. And I wanted to have patience, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. Luckily, I found out that you got to forgive and you got to do it verbally. I always try to journal my forgiveness, but the most powerful form of forgiveness for somebody who you can see that you have truly resented them, which is hatred. You've really hated them. You've been so angry at them. Go to them and say, hey, I'm sorry for being angry with you. I realize now you have done the best you can do all the time because I'm doing the best I can do. And then God will forgive you and will set you free from that. So that's step one. Look at self and realize you are no better than the person you have judged. Let me check the camera. All right, and step two is to really try to see that this other person, however awful it was, they were operating from the level of consciousness that they were at. And you can either not accept them and not accept the reality of what it was, or you can accept them and all their evil and terribleness and just accept it for what it was. Realize, yes, it was wrong, but it's wrong for you to continue to carry this debt that they owe you in yourself, because just like you don't make the choice consciously to be a certain way, to be evil in the way that you're evil, they didn't make that conscious choice. And that can be hard to accept. And I get it when you're like, well, yes, they did choose it. They consciously made the choice. I understand. I'm just saying, no one wakes up in the morning and goes, I can't wait to be a despicable human being. I can't wait to just be so hateful and to do all this wrong and all this evil in the world because it just makes me feel so good. That's not really the truth for any human being. We're all suffering to the degree that we have sin in our life, whether you want to call it sin or evil or like however you want to label that mess. So just realizing that they couldn't help it, that they can't help themselves. By seeing you can't help yourself either, you need something higher. You need a higher awareness beyond where you're currently at in order to grow beyond where you're at. This will cause you to give them grace, and then that grace will flow back to you through your forgiveness, because that will be the release of the pain as well as the resentment that you've been carrying around. And unless you do this, I mean, you will live a life of bitterness, because the bitterness is the foundation of your assumptions about life because of that experience that hurt you. And that experience wasn't even, like, it has nothing to do with your true identity. Your identity in God is the person who rose above that, who grew in spite of that experience. So because you won't forgive, your identity will be interlinked with that experience, and you will become that pain. You'll become a walking victim. And that was never what that experience was intended to do in the bigger picture of your soul. It was meant to make you stronger and to widen your perspective as well as open your heart. And like, this is how we turn experience into wisdom, because we've seen the bigger picture of it. We saw how to grow through it instead of being stuck in it. And it's said that whatever age we were at when we had a traumatic experience, we tend to stay psychologically at that age. So our growth really does depend on our ability to forgive. And if you just find that you just simply can't forgive, but you want to forgive, then this video is really for you. If you don't want to forgive, then obviously you're never going to forgive, because the only reason we do anything is because we feel like it. You get up early because you feel like it. You go to the gym because you feel like it. Or you don't go to the gym because you feel like not going to the gym. Everything we buy, everything we do, everything we say is because we feel like doing it. And so being able to tap into that part of our brain is really key. So the last thing I would say is, if you find that you want to forgive but you can't, you just feel like you can't, just realize that forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a seeing. It's seeing that you want to forgive, and even seeing that you can't forgive is magical in itself, because now you can have the humility to say, God, I want to forgive this person, please give me the ability to forgive. Because at the deepest level possible, and this is crazy, human beings can't forgive, only God can forgive. And when we see that we need to forgive each other, and we repent from being angry and resentful and bitter and holding on to it, God will take it away, and God will forgive us. Because human beings we're too much controlled by our ego. We can't forgive, but we can repent from resenting. We can see that it's wrong, and then God will do it for us. And from there, the magic just grows, because you can see how God is doing everything for you. And God is the reason for the peace in my heart, because God took the anger away when I decided to forgive. I'll go deeper into my forgiveness story here on this channel, but for now I just kind of wanted to help you see that if you don't forgive, you got a whole lifetime of bitterness ahead of you, and it will hurt your relationships, and it's going to hurt your business and your career. It's going to hurt everything. Even if you are a success in the outer world, if you don't have a heart of peace, then you're just going to be crying in your $1 million home by yourself, or crying in your Lamborghini or whatever, and still feeling lonely. Even if you're surrounded by a lot of people, you'll still feel lonely, because what is the point of doing anything on earth and gaining whatever we could possibly want to gain here on earth if we still don't really have our soul, if we don't have peace in our heart? So you got to forgive, all right? I invite you, I encourage you, and I challenge you to go forgive. and do it before you feel like it. Go to that person and say, hey, I'm sorry for hating you, for being so mad at you. I'm sorry for just being mad at you because you can't help yourself in the same way that I realize I can't help myself, and I wouldn't want somebody to just be hating me and resenting me. So I'm sorry for doing that to you, and I forgive you. All right, I hope this video has blessed you. I love you. Be blessed. See you in the next video. Peace.